Hello, I'm Mike Hayes. In this video, we'll be applying the Barry Harris method of playing the dominant 7th scale to a jazz standard. So it'll be both a review and application of some of the things that we've covered already. And you can never do too much of this type of work. As Barney Kessel says, if you don't own it, you can't use it. Okay, let's get cracking and see what we have in store for you today. The following exercises are based on the chord progression of Satin Doll. We'll be applying the dominant 7th scale using Barry Harris's rule number 1, which is if your line starts on a chord tone, add 1/2 step between 1 and flat 7. Let's begin with the first 8 bars of Satin Doll, and we'll call this section A1. The chord progression for Satin Doll is essentially a series of 2 5s moving through various key centres. In bars 1 and 2, you can see that we have a D minor 7 moving to a G7. Using the Barry Harris approach, we're going to treat these 2 bars as being 2 bars of G7. That means the scale that we'll be working with is the G Mixolydian scale. And don't forget, we're going to apply the Barry Harris rule of including a chromatic note between the flattened 7th and the root note. On to bars 3 and 4, and we're going to treat these 2 bars as being 2 bars of A7. So once again, we'll be using a Mixolydian mode, this time A Mixolydian, and we're also going to add in that chromatic note from the Barry Harris rule. Over to bar 5, and we're going to treat this as a bar of D7. So our scale of choice will be the D Mixolydian scale with our additional note, of course. Then on to bar 6, and we're going to treat this bar as being a bar of D flat 7. So we'll be using D flat Mixolydian in that bar. And now over to bars 7 and 8, which are essentially the turnaround bars. And here we find a set of dominant 7th chords moving down chromatically. And as we've done previously, we're going to play a Mixolydian scale that relates to each chord. In other words, for C 7th, we're going to play C Mixolydian. For B 7th, we're going to play B Mixolydian. B flat 7th, we're going to play B flat Mixolydian. And A 7th, we're going to play A Mixolydian. And as we mentioned in a previous video, the 2 key elements that keep reoccurring in the bebop style are ascending arpeggios and descending scales. Therefore, we'll be playing all of these scales as descending scales. Let's have a listen. Right then, let's get to work on the next 8 bars. This is the A2 section of Satin Doll. I'm going to use the exact same set of scales, only this time I'm going to vary the rhythm by including a very important rhythm in bebop phrasing. I'm sure you'll recognise it when you hear it. Okay, moving on to bars 15 and 16, where essentially we have 2 bars of C. What I've done here is played a series of arpeggios through all the chords in C major. The key thing to look for here is that I'm beginning each arpeggio a semitone lower than my target note. For instance, if I'm playing a C arpeggio, I'm beginning on the note B. That's the note one semitone lower than C. If I'm playing a D minor arpeggio, I'm beginning on the note C sharp. That's the note a semitone below D. And once again, this is typical of the bebop way of playing arpeggios. Let's have a listen to the first 16 bars. That's A1 and A2, so you can get an idea how we're developing our practice session. Okay, moving on to the B section, and we're at bars 17 and 18. And as you can see, we have a G minor to C7, a 2-5 chord progression, and you know what we're going to do here is treat these two bars as two bars of C7. Moving on to bars 19 and 20, and in the original chord progression, this would just simply be two bars of F. However, I'm up to my old tricks again, and I'm moving through all the chords in the key of F. That's F, G minor, A minor, B flat, C, D minor, E diminished. And as we did before in bars 15 and 16, I'm beginning each arpeggio with an approach note that's a semitone lower than my target note. On to bars 21 and 22, and we're going to treat these two bars as two bars of D7. Moving on to bar 23, and we're going to treat this as a bar of G7. On to bar 24, and we're going to treat this bar as a bar of A7. And now we arrive at bar 25, which marks the beginning of the A3 section. I'm going to play the same scales as I did in the first A section and the second A section, only this time I'm going to play the scale as 16th notes rather than 8th notes. This means I'll be playing the scale through twice because we're moving twice the speed. I'll also be sprinkling in a few rhythmic variations, and this will simply be the rhythm that we practiced earlier with the triplets. Okay, I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you get a lot out of it. that's it for today, folks. I do hope you enjoyed the lesson, and I hope there's something in this lesson that'll help you develop your own musical style on guitar. If you enjoyed this session and felt you got some value out of it and you'd like to support this channel, there's a link in the description below this video. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on all the good stuff. And if you like this video, don't forget to give us a like. It really helps us out. Until next time, all the very best with your guitar playing. Bye for now.